Hi everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are going to make a delicious old-fashioned apple pie. And I don't know what makes it so old-fashioned except that that's what it's called and it's delicious. So let me tell you where we're at right now. In this pan on the stove I have a half a cup of butter. It calls for unsalted. I didn't have unsalted. I use salted in almost everything. So half a cup of salted butter. Once that melted, I added 3 tablespoons of flour and just stirred it all around to give us a pretty thick little paste. That's going to be our thickening for our apples. So once I got that all melted, probably let it go a little past a minute. You just want to make sure you don't have any raw flour flavor. So once we got it to that point, I added a half a cup of water, and then I added a fourth a cup of water, half a cup brown sugar, half a cup white sugar, and then I added some apple pie spice. This just gives it that really delicious cinnamon apple pie flavor. And all it is cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. So if you don't want to spend the money to buy the spice in the store, you can go online and you can find the different dimensions you need to make that. I may do that when that runs out. So I've got that in here. Just stirring it until it came to a simmer. When we're just about to that point now, let me turn it down just a little bit. Listen, I'm making my life super simple because I've used store-bought dough. I needed a top and a bottom, so I needed the whole box. I've got the bottom shell here. All we're going to do is add our apples, but I've saved out one just to show you how I do the apples. They're super easy, and I like a sweet apple. I know a lot of people's recipes call for Granny Smiths. I'm not a Granny Smith kind of person. I don't like that sour flavor, so I go for the sweeter apples. And truthfully, I tell you why I thought about making this pie is because I bought some more apples yesterday and didn't realize I had so many still in my fruit bowl. So I decided, hey, we'll use an apple pie. These are ambrosia apples, which once we found those, I haven't gone back to anything else. They are firm and crisp, and they're super sweet. So I know you're saying we're going with sweet and sweet with all the toppings. Well, yes, we are. But we got this good simmer going here. I'm actually going to turn that down. Now I have my apple peeled. I don't use the core because then I'd have to go and peel each piece individually. I just slice it, go around as close to the core as I can get. And then I hope y'all can see, I just slice it the sizes that you want. You know, a lot of people leave the peel on theirs. If I have a little peel, see there's some peel on that, I don't mind it. But I just like the texture of the apple without the peel once it's cooked. Okay, we have that there. Now all we're going to do, this is done. We're going to take our pie shell, follow the directions on the shells because you're supposed to leave them out for about 60 minutes to let them warm up a little bit. That just makes them go into your pie pan so much easier, our pie plate. Then we just pour our apples. We're going to mound them up pretty good. And if you feel like you got too many, Marley loves apples. We'll have an apple for Marley. Okay, so that's where we are to this point. I'm not going to pour that onto the apples until we get closer because I don't want to give it time to start cooking that crust. Our oven is preheated to 425, which that is hot. But what we're going to do, it'll go in and we're going to bake it for 15 minutes on 425. Then we're going to drop it down to 350. And an apple pie takes a while to cook. So 35 to 45 minutes past that time. Okay, I'm going to just get this ready for the lattice top. I will cut this. You know, I see people that get out their ruler, and I like mine to look good, but I'm not that precise. I do try to watch it and make it pretty close, but it's not going to be perfect. And I'm not going to stand there with a ruler and measure it just as I was saying that one got too wide. But this makes it look so good. You know, just a solid apple pie, anything's delicious and your family's going to enjoy it. But once you see this and you see how simple it is, you're going to think, for something very special, you'll want to try this because it's not that much different. All right, I'm going to pull this over here, pull my pie up here so I can work with it. This delicious sugars and butter and a little bit of water and that apple pie spice, it's going to go all over these apples. You know, my recipe actually calls for you to put your lattice on first and then pour this over it. I don't like the way that looks. It kind of looks really messy. You know, there are dark parts and lighter parts. So what we really want is to get that all over the apples. So I just like to do it this way. Right there, you could go and put just a solid apple pie shell on the top, but wait till you see this. Okay, we're going to start. I'm going to go all one direction first. Start with your longest pieces in the center. I'll skip one. We're just laying these here because we're going to have to lift them up to get that lattice work going. It is going to be so pretty. Okay, I know it's confusing right now, but stay with me. We're going to finish up this side. Then we're going to start the lattice part. I think I can do one more over here. All right. Now you see how we've got like a half lattice. What we're going to do is we're going to take every other strip and fold it back. So let's go with this one, this one, this one. Whoops, almost got my sleeve. Lay in your next strip. Put those down. If you get a little of this sauce on them, it's not going to hurt because we're actually going to come back, put a little something on the top. Okay, now we're ready to take the alternating ones. Flip those back. Get us another strip of crust. Fold those over. Isn't that looking pretty? It's gorgeous. I think we're only going to do one more on this side. So all the ones, and you can tell, it's easy. It's the ones that it's laying on, that's the ones you fold back. I hope that's not confusing. Lay it over, over, and over. Isn't that pretty? We're going to do the same thing on this side. That one's a little bit thin. Not a problem. Alternating strips come back. A long strip goes down because we're right in the middle of the pie. Over it goes. Don't y'all think that's looking good? And how impressed everybody's going to be when you set this down and they go, oh, well, you must have run out to Village Inn and gotten a pie. But hey, you didn't. You can say, no, that came from the kitchen. They'll go, no, it didn't. And I promise, too, it's going to look pretty, but it's going to taste delicious. I don't think we need another one. Well, maybe, no, I don't think we need another one on the edge. Okay, then all we're going to do is we're going to come around and kind of pinch these in with the crust. Fold them under if you need to. We'll come back around and kind of crimp them. These are not going to go anyplace. They're going to stay right where you've left them. Even if they kind of shrink up a little bit, it's not leaving the edge of this pie. It's going to look beautiful. Couple more. Then all I'm going to do, we're going to make sure the edges look good. These longer ones, you just kind of have to push it back, kind of tuck it under. Or we could cut it off, but you know, what's the best part of the pie? The filling is great, but everybody fights over the crust, don't they? Just go back around, just real simple, kind of crimp it together. That just gives it a little bit of a finished touch. You know, I'm not a pie master, so it's not going to win me a bunch of awards from just being beautiful, except this is lovely. It's the taste that we're after. We're just about around. Then all we're going to do is put a little egg wash on this so it'll get nice and brown. I'm going to top it with just, I've got the raw, that turbinado sugar that's real crystally, looks really pretty and shiny. We're going to try a little of that too. There we go on that. Let me get my egg wash. Let me step right over here. Got a little brush. That'll help us. This is just an egg, and I think I put maybe a tablespoon of water just to make it a little bit thinner. Just cover it as best you can. And really, it's going to be beautiful without this, but because I'm adding that little bit of sugar to the top, this just gives it something to hang on to. And you'll see that when I put that on the top. Don't y'all think that looks good? You know, we've got to run out here in just a little bit. We may have to pick up some vanilla ice cream because I don't think we have any. This is that turbinado sugar. It's a raw sugar. I bought it for something special, but I really just use it for decorating. Look how pretty and shiny that is. It's kind of like crystals just falling on top of the pie. You don't need the added sweetness. I promise this pie is going to be nice and sweet, so I'm only doing it for looks. So I am going to put this in our oven that was preheated to 425. I'm going to leave it at 425 for 15 minutes. Then I'm going to drop it down to 350. I believe it's 350. Yep. For 35 to 45 minutes. Just keep your eyes on it. And let me tell you another little trick. If I were you, I'd put a little something underneath this, a cookie sheet or something, because it's pretty full and it might have a tendency to cook over. It'd be a whole lot nicer to clean that cookie sheet than the bottom of your oven. So there we have it. I'm going to put that in the oven. We should be back here in, it'll probably be a little bit longer than an hour because we don't want to cut it for at least an hour after it's come out of the oven. So I'll see y'all back here this evening and we will have us a piece of delicious, homemade, old-fashioned apple pie. Hi everybody, welcome back, and look at this beautiful pie that we just took out of the oven. Now sadly I think it's a little too hot for us to cut. I wanted to cut it and put some ice cream on it so we could see it, but I think it's just a little too hot right now, and I think that if we were to take a piece out we would just lose the integrity of the whole pie. But isn't that beautiful? And we made it here. It didn't take us very long to get it together. I think that we did a great job. It smells wonderful. And I'm sure it's going to be delicious. Let me go over what we have here because it was just simply 2 pieces of pie crust that we bought. And we put that in the bottom. Then we got our apples ready. I showed you how I slice the apple up. You may have a specific way that you do it. The recipe does call for Granny Smith apples. I think I told you the only reason we didn't use Granny Smith is I'm just not a huge fan of Granny Smith. But these are the Ambrosia apples, and they're delicious. Then we had in our stewer here, we had butter. Then we put a little flour. That was our thickening. All we added to that was brown sugar and white sugar, half a cup of each. And then just 1/4 cup of water. That made our sauce. Pie shells in. We put our apples in. And if you remember, they were mounded over pretty big. They cooked down. We put that sauce all over, and then we did that real pretty lattice on top, which was simple. It's just step by step. You can do it, and I think it's pretty impressive. So we aren't going to cut this tonight because it is still so hot. But I hope that you'll try this. It's going to be delicious. I just know it because it smells awesome. Putting a little finishing touch on it, the little casting sugars or the turbinado sugar, just gives it that next little step. So give this a try. Let me know how it goes, and I will see you real soon.